What's up, guys? So last night I went ahead and I was thinking, what if I took a Nintendo Switch and downloaded their certain pinball software, and then went ahead and just bought some different tables. So one of the tables that I've been wanting is actually the Stern Ghostbusters, and you can kind of see it here. It looks a little washed out, but it doesn't look like that in person. But I think it might just be the viewing angle, or just getting some glare off of some LED lights that I have over here. But anyways, I was like, well, what if I buy this, and this will kind of get me by. So I was playing it on the Switch, and on the Switch it actually plays like this. So it plays like horizontal. But then I noticed, and I saw, and I've seen this before, where it has like a little toggle switch, so you can just press the minus, and then it puts it in a vertical mode. And when you put it in a vertical mode, it actually feels like a little pinball. And I had been kind of watching like virtual pins and this and that. And I have a Stern Jurassic Park, and I was just kind of like, you know what, I really want to play a Ghostbusters. I heard some mixed reviews on it. Some people like it, some people don't. But they have the new Ninja Turtles that just came out, so I'm kind of like excited about that. So I was like, well, if I do get a new pinball machine, I probably wouldn't be able to get both, just because they're, you know, about $6,000, you know, just for the entry level ones. So anyways, I had an old computer monitor laying around. So this is a Dell something, who knows what. And what I did is I took a old Amazon box, and I just cut it, and I just kind of threw it in there. And I was just kind of curious, like, if I was to play this, like, would it be like kind of close to pinball? And actually, it's not too bad. I mean, it actually looks okay. Like, it's not too bad. If I can get this ball up, so you can kind of see the pinball table there, the playfield. And when I was playing it on the Switch, it just did not feel very... I didn't feel like I was in the game at all. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to build like a little box out of wood. And I'm going to build it for this monitor. And you can kind of see the angle there. So it's kind of angling like a real pinball machine. And I'm going to look and kind of just look at the dimensions. And I think I heard that there's a way where you can plug in like buttons. And that might be kind of part two, but plug in some buttons to your Switch, and then I'd be able to use it like flippers. And then I'm debating whether to build like a back box, or just have like some speakers attached just for the meantime, just so I can play, because it's like something I kind of want to do maybe by this weekend. And I just want to see if I can build it out just kind of real quick. But eventually might be able to do the whole like, you know, the whole head and whatnot, and maybe even do like a little like translite for a back glass. I don't know, we'll see. But I don't know, it's just kind of an idea, and it's just kind of like a side project, as if I need more side projects. But it's just because I really want to play Ghostbusters, and I was having such a hard time, you know, playing it on this. It's just, I mean, I even have the little, hold on, so let me get this going. So I even have this I can slide it in there. So I even have this that I've actually been playing for. Actually, if you don't have this, this is pretty cool. But I've been playing this, and I've been using it for like vertical games like Donkey Kong and what is it? Punch Out. And this is actually pretty cool, being able to flip the screen like this, and then kind of playing the game like this. It's pretty neat. But then even then, it's like super tiny. You know, because it's the Switch, right? The Switch doesn't have a very big screen, but it's pretty cool. I mean, it's neat. It's there, so you can kind of see. It's not bad, and it's not showing up on camera as much as it. There's a little bit of a delay too, also. So I was having a little hard time hitting the ball with the flipper. But so taking it from this and then taking it up to this. And what I want to try to do is I want to see if I can get this to work. Because if this idea works, then I might actually go and try to... Sorry, I'm trying to get the Switch back out. I may actually try to build something a little bit bigger, because I want to say that this monitor is a 24-inch screen, and I don't know. I was even thinking of going like to a 40-inch screen, or actually looking at my Jurassic Park and seeing how big the playfield is, and then maybe upscaling it. It's something that I've never done before, but it's just like it's a little project that we're in this quarantine, and it doesn't look like things are kind of clearing up anytime soon, and it might be even like a second wave of this stuff. So this might be a little project just to kind of keep me busy, and I can just kind of order parts on Amazon and whatnot. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm just kind of thinking out loud. Don't know if that's a good idea or not. But I might try to just actually do a little build with this weekend, and then just see how that goes. And not really fully ready to build it up full scale, and some of the crazy ones that I've seen online that are just amazing, as far as them doing virtual pins with using hyperpin and all this and that, and actually having like little solenoids like pop off, so it actually feels like you're on the table, and it feels like a real pinball machine. But even though, like, even playing it on here, it feels nothing like my Jurassic Park, but still, it's like, it gets me enough to at least play the games and try them out. Just because I would not be able to afford all these pinball machines, or would I have the space for them? Because these things are big. They take up a lot of room. All right, so that's what I'm thinking on this first Friday off. I'm working 10-hour days, so we now have Fridays off for like the next 2 months for June and July. So this is what happens, guys. I start thinking up crazy ideas, and yeah, I might also go pick up a Silver Strike. I have one, but that's actually probably going to be another video. I have one. The computer's not working, so I found another one. So I'm going to see if I can go pick up another one. All right. So that's the intro to this video. What do you guys think? All right. Let me start making some measurements, and then maybe even cutting some wood, and just seeing if I can get anything together to actually at least mount this monitor into something a little bit more sturdy than this plastic Amazon box. I mean, not plastic, cardboard Amazon box. All right, let me get to work. Okay, so I just wanted to give a little bit of an update as far as this virtual pinball project that I initially had with a monitor, and I had a cardboard box. So I went ahead and started kind of like, I guess, making as far as like a case for it. And this is kind of what I've come up with so far. And this is just to kind of test it, see if I like the angles out and whatnot. But yeah, so I want to eventually add some flippers here. I want to do a back box and whatnot. And definitely need to add the flippers, because that'll kind of add a little bit more to the, I guess, realism of it. And I may even change out the monitor. The monitor looks okay. It looks a little washed out right here. But single player results. I don't like the viewing angles on it. I mean, it looks great from the front, but like if you're trying to watch, it's kind of hard to see. But I just kind of wanted to show you like what it looks like. And this is with the switch, so I might actually change it where it'll actually be like a computer running some kind of virtual pinball software. But that may be further down the line. I just kind of wanted to play a few games, so I ended up buying this 2-pack on PinFX. It was like $10, but it had Monster Bash, and it had Creature from the Black Lagoon. But it already feels kind of more like a pinball machine, just having it at a vertical angle. So you can actually, I was going to show you, but with the Joy-Con here, you can actually flip the game, and it's cool because you can actually flip it the other way, just in case your monitor is mounted the opposite way. But so it makes it vertical, very much like a pinball machine. It's really cool. And while you're playing it here, like it seems very like engrossing. I mean, you really feel like you're playing a pinball machine. And actually, with the rumble and stuff on the Joy-Cons, it actually feels like a pinball machine. Like all the little solenoids popping and whatnot. You can kind of feel it with the little HD rumble. The other thing I don't know is I do have like a little adapter running through it right now, so you can hear the sound went out. It seems to be doing that, and I don't know if it's I don't know what's causing that. I don't know if it's the software. See, I came back on. So I don't know if it's not getting a good signal or really what's causing that. But I wanted to just do an update, and I think the next thing is to kind of build that back glass up. And I don't really have, I mean, the Switch doesn't really support like dual monitors or anything like that. So if I do that, I'm definitely going to have to go with using a computer with a dual monitor in order to support the back glass. But I just think that's going to make it look a lot cooler. Because now you do have the, what do you call it, the little DMD right there. But I think it would be cool with the DMD and the whole artwork lighting up on the back. So I eventually really want to try to go that route. But I really don't know much about virtual pinball. I was more of a MAME guy, so I kind of saw like how to do all the stuff for the arcade games, but not too much on the pinball machine stuff. So it'll be a learning experience, and I'm sure I'm going to make a ton of mistakes. But at least this is a start, and I think I'm going to actually eventually have to paint the cabinet too. To kind of get rid of all of these like little marks that have all the stamps from the lumber companies. And this was just like extra wood that I had laying around. So I haven't really had a huge expense on anything. And I've just been using like some little nails to put it together. But I want to definitely put like a handle on the back so I can carry it. And it's actually a little, it's probably going to be a little on the heavy side. Because the wood that I ended up using was, I want to say it was like probably 3/4 of an inch plywood, so it's pretty thick, but that's just kind of what I had laying around. And I had it for some flooring I was doing. So, I don't know. I just figured use the extra wood. Oh, and the other thing too is kind of cool. You can kind of tilt, which is kind of neat. And see how it says tilt. But anyways, I'm going to get to work. And I just wanted to kind of provide like a little update as far as this project and how it's looking so far. I don't know. What do you think, guys? I think it's kind of neat. Let's see if I can turn the light on. I don't know. It's kind of cool. And then I have like a bracket in here. The only thing I did notice is that like on a real pinball machine, the monitor is actually tilted a little bit. I guess a little bit, or this is further down, and then this is not up so much because there's a little bit of a gap here for those art blades on the side. And I'm still debating on whether or not I want to make it look more like a real pinball machine or just keep it like this, because I do like the extra room that it provides back here, just in case if I want to put, try to sneak a subwoofer in here, it'll have more room than if I were to lower the whole monitor down somewhat. And then I need to actually have room for the flippers. So there's not a lot of room in here to put extra stuff if I want to put extra stuff. Especially if I want to put like a subwoofer and whatnot. Although this little Sony XB41 or whatever that Bluetooth speaker is, it actually has amazing sound. So I think I could even get away with a little Bluetooth speaker, somewhat like that. But let's get to work. I need to do some more of the woodworking stuff and kind of get that to a point. And then I'm gonna have to start buying some electronic stuff, such as flippers, and then I was thinking about buying a cheap Switch controller so I could tear it apart and use the buttons to wire up to the flippers. But I don't know. I guess it's time to stop talking and enjoying the air conditioning and go outside into the heat and actually cut some more wood and do a little bit more work. All right, I'll check you guys later. Okay, so I wanted to give a little bit of update to the pinball project that I was working on with the Switch. If you remember, or I don't know, I think I may have posted it on my social media, and I actually did not post it, or I did not record it for this video. But I think this whole thing started out with just, it was a monitor, it wasn't a TV like this, but it was just a monitor that I had put in an Amazon box, and I had put the Tate mode, I think that's how you say it, on the Nintendo Switch, on one of the pinballs, like Pinball FX 3 or something like that. And I had put that mode on, and I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. I need to develop this idea out. So the last bit I had recorded was actually this kind of just bottom part, and I hadn't painted it black, and I did not have this back box yet. So I went ahead and made this back box, and it actually does come I actually did put some, here's a little bit more to it, but I actually did put some latches. So you can actually latch, and you can actually lock the whole machine. And it actually does have a handle. And if you unlatch it, like it's unlatched right now, this head actually does fold down just like a regular pinball machine. And it's right here because I've been kind of just working on it. And on the inside, I do have, what do you call it? What's it called? Like almost like a power strip, but it's like more of a block. And then I have a switch dock right there, and you can just dock the switch in. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I did also install, so let me go ahead and get this back. Let me see if I can go ahead and latch it. So you can kind of see how it just latches in, right? So now it's like locked in. Something that I did install is I really wanted to get the flippers done. So it does have flippers, and then this is like it's like a plus or a minus, and it has the same on the other side. And then this is for the plunger, and then this is to go back. And the way I did it, and you might be able to see it, I don't know if you can see it under there. You can kind of see it. There's a Pikachu, it's a Pokemon Pikachu Nintendo Switch controller. And here, let me open this back up actually. And what I did is I just kind of opened up the Switch controller, and it was the cheapest one I could find. And then it's going into the Switch dock through the USB. And I just basically soldered the different button, like the soldering points on the controller. I just soldered it to that little motherboard, and then connected those to these buttons. And then these buttons, here, I'm going to go ahead and flip the switch on. See if I can find it. So now if I flip the switch on, you can see these buttons actually, the buttons actually light up. So let me actually turn the light off. Let me do that real quick. All right, cool. So the light's off. Now let me turn my little light here off. All right, so now that light's off. So now it actually does have, it has LED lighting underneath, and these buttons actually light up, so you can just see them in the dark. So as far as like the next steps, what do I need to do now? I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to build another back box. I'm actually going to build a whole new setup, because right now what I had is I had a monitor, a Dell monitor that was, what size was it? I want to say it was maybe a 24-inch. And then I put this 27-inch TV that I had laying around, just from, you know, I just keep upgrading stuff, so then I have old stuff. But this is a 27-inch, and the one thing I don't like about it is look at how big the bezel is. I mean, look at that. It's a significant size. All right, so here's like an iPhone 4, I think. So look at that. It's almost like the width of an iPhone 4. So what I want to do is I want to upgrade this with a more modern television. And so hopefully it'll have a little bit better viewing angle. It'll be a little bit more efficient because it'll be an LED. It'll also be thinner. And I noticed that between a 27 and a modern 32-inch, you're looking at only a ½ inch difference here. So I want to build a bigger cabinet to accommodate a 32-inch, because I do think that going from a 27-inch to a 32-inch, I think will actually be a significant upgrade. And I want to go ahead and just do that because I do have some extra spare wood, and I kind of have an idea on how to build this now. So I want to go ahead and just try to take what I've learned with this one and apply it to that one. And I think I might actually end up selling this one, because this one works with the Switch. It works great. You can plunge the ball here on PinFX, and you can actually use these for the flippers. And I'll actually show you in another video how this all works. And I'm actually trying to get this hooked up here. Trying to get the plunger hooked up, so that way it works with the stern pinball as well. And then I have this. This is a, I don't even know what size it is, maybe a 17-inch LCD. I'm going to keep this, and you can notice it's kind of dirty, but I'm going to keep this for my other project, or maybe even for this one, and mount it back here as a back glass. and then put some speakers back in here. But this was actually, I had a Dig Dug cocktail, and the Dig Dug cocktail did not have a real CRT monitor, and I had to put an LCD in it. So this was the LCD that was in it. But now I was able to get a real CRT monitor. So I pulled this out. So now this is an extra monitor that I have. And so it may go in this one, and then I'm going to build a bigger cabinet. And I'm thinking that I may even go as far with the other cabinet of actually doing a full computer inside of it. And actually doing I think it's visual pinball, I think is what it is. So that way I can have more tables and whatnot. And I don't know, this just has kind of turned into hey, let me just play the TV sideways and let me try to play some pinball from the Switch, to actually like let me build a controller for it. And if you have seen the internet, you'll have seen there was a Kickstarter. I think it was called Sharpen, I think is what it was. And basically it was this bottom part here without the top part. It was this bottom part, and it was basically a controller for, you could hook up your Switch to it, or it was running, I think, Android. But I want to say it was like $750. And that was a bit steep. So I do have some money into this one, but nowhere near as much as $750. It's just been more labor into this one. I think the labor is the cost on this one. So that's kind of like the big key, because this took about 2 weekends to get it kind of built out. But that's along with working on some other projects. I was working on the kicks. I was working on Dig Dug. So it's, you know, it was probably about 10 hours worth of work so far, between the cutting, the painting, the sanding, the soldering, all the electronics, the doing all the lighting, all the cabinet lighting and stuff like that. But so now that I got a firm grip on how to do this, or kind of how I want to do this, because I actually did cut an original cabinet and it was too short here, and the screen was down, and then the buttons were kind of interfering with the screen. So I have another one that's actually cut, that's actually too small, that I don't know what I'm going to do. I might try to figure out some kind of way to repurpose that. But I do want to build one that's a little bit bigger. And it's kind of cool because once you, let me go ahead and unlatch this. Once you drop this down like this, I put a handle here so that way you can actually pick it up and carry it. And it does have a little bit of weight, but it's not too bad. I even thought about if it was a little bit longer, which actually with a 32 inch, it's going to be a little bit longer, about figuring out some way to put like some like little casters or something, or that, you know, you can attach and kind of wheel it around. So the other thing that I do want to do with this one is I have a little IEC connector that I need to put here, so that way you can just plug it in from back here and it doesn't have the cord running through here. I do want to figure out how to put something here, like a glass or something, and I just can't figure out how to do, like, because a normal pinball machine has rails, and then it has the lock bar here. So I can't figure out necessarily how to do that, unless I just keep it wood and then just kind of do like a small channel here that you can slide a piece of glass, or excuse me, or even some like a, I think like a Lexan or something like that, because I want to say like the arcade 1-up that they're coming out with is actually doing something very similar. I do want to try to get this plunger working. I don't know what else. I do need to put dedicated speakers back here. I do have a hole that goes down that I went ahead and drilled out here, and it does go down to here to run any wiring for plugs or anything like that. So I need to get all of that taken care of. And I even thought about, instead of doing a monitor on this one, maybe just doing some kind of artwork back here. So I'm still kind of up in the air about that. But what do you guys think? This all started out as an Amazon box on my stove, and now check it out. It's getting there. It's getting closer. It's a fun little experiment. I like the way the finish came out with that plywood. I don't know if you can see it. Oh yeah, you can kind of see it there. I like the way the grain, the wood grain kind of looks. Looks pretty nice. Looks pretty good. And then I went ahead and sanded down all the corners and all the edges so that it just had kind of like a smooth, just not very rough texture to it. Yeah, because I kept doing this on it and I kept getting splinters, and that was not fun. So I was like, you know what, I need to get that all sanded down. And then I was trying to hot glue some stuff with a plunger. Like, check this out. I don't know if you can see it. But yeah, I got a really bad blister touching the hot glue. So that kind of sucked. But that's kind of where the project is. Pretty cool, right? So I'm going to see if I can work on it a little bit more. And then maybe even possibly start doing the other one. And maybe I'll shoot a little bit more video on the Virtual Pin 2.0. And I definitely need to shoot some video, some gameplay video of this one. Because this one's pretty cool. So that's it so far. Let me know what you guys think of this. Okay, so this is kind of where the pinball stands right now. I did get the IEC connector wired into the back, so that's good to go. The last thing I need to do for right now that kind of get me happy as far as like currently is this plunger. I need to get this plunger working with this. So right now I'm having to use the Joy-Con, but we're just going to play a little bit of Ghostbusters, just play it one time. So you can kind of just see how this works, and you can see that the plungers are actually working here. So they work fine, as long as I play okay. So they saved the ball because I wasn't very good at that. And the other thing is you can kind of change like some of those viewing modes. You can actually you can lock the ball so it doesn't like move around. But I definitely want to get the plunger working, and I might do that today. See if I can get that plunger going. So I think that would be kind of cool to have a actual plunger. So on the Digital Effects Pinball, it actually just uses one of the buttons. So I don't have to actually worry about a plunger on those. But this is the Stern one, and the Stern one actually uses the plunger because you can actually use the analog stick to determine the speed of when you launch it. So if you need to do a skill shot, you can kind of get that kind of taken care of. And eventually I want to do like a little back glass, like kind of marquee type thing. I want to do something in the back. Whoops. The ball was locked. Right? Assuming. There it goes. It took a while. It took forever for that. So it's kind of weird because you can call an attendant too, which is kind of neat. I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm actually going to end up building another build, but it's going to be a little bit bigger screen because right now there's a 27 in here right now. And I realized that if I did it actually a ½ inch wider and just a couple inches longer, I would have been able to do a 32-inch screen instead, which would have been pretty cool. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go with that. And by all means, this isn't meant to replace the pinball machines, but it just kind of, I don't know, gives you a nice alternative to be able to play a few tables that you may not have. So I thought that was kind of cool. And this is all actually running off the Nintendo Switch right now. So it's not even running off some kind of high-end PC. It's technically running off a little tablet console system, right? It actually seems to run okay. It's not too bad.
Get the extra ball!
And it actually makes it feel a lot better with the flippers. Flippers actually make it feel more realistic than playing it on your Switch with the Joy-Cons like this. even in flipped mode, you know, it's like it's just better with these flippers. It's not perfect, but and actually Ghostbusters is the game that I've experienced the most issues with. I was trying to see if it'll do it, but it'll start slowing down on Ghostbusters.
Extra ball.
I don't know, there's been a couple times where I've played Ghostbusters and it'll have slowdown, which is kind of weird. But just to kind of get the idea, the rule sets, and kind of get a feel for the game, so when you play like a real pinball machine, it's actually, playing it on the Switch like this is actually not too bad. So that way when you play it in real life, you know, kind of have an idea what you're doing. It's kind of like back in the day, I understood that like Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo was not the arcade game, but you know, it's close enough where you can kind of get the idea on how to play. And then when you do hit up the arcade, you know, you get that experience, you know. So, oh, that's gonna drain. The other thing that I think like down the line that I would love to do, if I could get it to work, would be the tilt mechanism. I have some ideas on how to do that, but I need to kind of figure that out. But yeah, what do you guys think? It's pretty neat, right? I like all the effects and the sounds. I like Ghostbusters. I love Ghostbusters as a theme. I think it's super cool. Slimer, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, just, you know, all the characters. Rick Moranis, huge fan of Rick Moranis. I think he's funny. Oh, missed it. I think that's it. I think that's ball 3. Oh wow, let's keep getting extra balls or something here. Oh, that's match. And like right now, you can't really see the DMD, but I don't know. I need to adjust that. But yep, there's the game. Cool, right? All right. That's the update on the pinball machine thus far. Hey, what's up, guys? So I went ahead and I was kind of working on the pinball machine, and I was trying to get this plunger working here. So since I actually have it open, I just kind of wanted to show you the inside of how everything's kind of wired up and whatnot. So what I did is I took this Pokemon controller, Pikachu controller, and I basically, let me turn the brightness down just a tad. But what I did is I took this controller and I took it apart, and then I don't know if you can see inside, but what I did is, I was trying to turn on the brightness, but I think it was a little too much. So I took like where the buttons were at, and then I basically soldered these wires to it, and then I soldered those to just some switches, and that's basically how you control the game. So I have this as the minus or the plus, I think minus or plus, I can't remember, and then this is the opposite, and then these are the triggers. So if you look on the other side, right, so you have the plus, minus, and then the trigger buttons, the shoulder buttons, and then here I have B is the back button, and I have it for blue, so I always remember it. And then this is the shooter button here. Now the only thing that I needed to figure out was on the PinFX games, you can actually use this button, and actually some games actually require you to just press this button for the ball because there's like little mini games and whatnot. But now on the Stern pinball, the trick is you have to use this little joystick. So what I did, and just kind of improvised here, is I hot glued what do you call it, a rubber band, and I actually just kind of tied 2 rubber bands together here, and then I used the E-clip on an actual real pinball shooter rod, and then I screwed down 2 rubber bands, and then basically that now kind of gives tension. It gives tension to the pinball machine, and if you notice, let me turn down the brightness again. Sorry, the brightness keeps changing, but if you notice when I pull it back here, it actually pulls down on the joystick, and you can let it go, and then it basically will launch the ball. So I'll show you how that works. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit back, and then so I hit back, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit start. So now the game's going to go ahead and start up.
Welcome aboard, Tex.
Right. So now I don't know if you can't really see it, unfortunately. But I don't know if you can see it.
Choose your skill shot.
You're just going to have to trust me on this because the TV's down all the way. I'll actually do it when it's all set up again. But look, I'm going to go ahead and pull back on this. So I'm pulling back. And you can kind of see that it's trying to go. So it has different tension. So you can see based off of the tension of how much I pull back, you can see it's not going all the way up the ramp. So now if you look, I'm going to go ahead, and since it's analog, right, depending on how much you pull back, it'll kind of come back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull it all the way back. So it's pulled back pretty hard, and now you can see when I let go, it actually starts the game. So that's kind of cool, right? So this controller was like 18 bucks. It took me like a couple hours to solder that in, but I got it all soldered, and I actually soldered in all the power. And what I did is I took a USB, what do you call it? Like just a USB adapter that had 2 USB plugs, and that's actually powering the buttons, and it's actually powering the LED strip that's actually underneath. And the way I did the buttons, let me see if I can get back here without messing things up. The way I did the buttons, and I think it's actually kind of too hard to see, but the way I did it is I took a regular standard USB cable, and then I think I threw it away, but I just cut it, and then I took the power leads off of it, and then that's kind of what I ran to the buttons, and then just kind of daisy chained them. And then if for some reason your LED button does not work, it's because your power has to go a certain way. So check it before you permanently attach it, and make sure that the power is the right way. And when it goes the right way, of course, then your buttons light up and they turn on. And then you can just feed that power and daisy chain it to all the buttons. So that's what I did. This is kind of just like a test. I think the next test, as far as like the 2.0 version of this, which I'm going to do the bigger screen version, but I think the next test is this actually controls the tilt, this joystick here. So let's see if you can see it. You can kind of hear it too. So that controls the tilt of the table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to mount something in here and solder it here, so that way when you rock the machine, it'll actually make contact, and it'll actually tilt the machine when you actually tilt the pinball table. So I don't know, I think that might be next step. I gotta see, because I actually, honestly, on a real pinball machine, I never actually use the tilt. I'm just not that good of a pinball player. But the one thing I did want to do is I did want to get the shooter hooked up. And now that the shooter's hooked up, I think it actually just kind of makes it a little bit more realistic. So I want to go ahead and put this back together, and I want to put this back together and, just play it for a little bit, see if there's any other adjustments that I need to make, and just kind of take it from there and just see what I want to do next on this guy. And actually that's with the back box actually taken off. So it's real easy to take off because it just screws in. I don't know if you can see it. It just screws in right here, and that's what kind of keeps it attached and actually able to come down and whatnot. And then I did attach let's see if I can get back here. I did attach the IEC cable. So that's there. I did kind of a rough job with that. I need to do a little bit better job. So I need to clean a couple things up and whatnot. But I think I got a pretty good idea of how to build one of these. And like I said, I'm only off by a little bit as far as the measurement to build one with a 32-inch screen. So I think that's going to be the next step. I'm just waiting to see if I can find a fairly inexpensive 32-inch screen that I wouldn't mind using on a project like this. But that's kind of like the insides, and that's kind of how everything was built. I don't know, what do you guys think? A lot of spare parts and whatnot. Although I did buy the buttons, I did buy the shooter. I had to buy the, what do you call it, the switch controller. I had the power adapter actually laying around. So it was just some extra stuff that I had. It was an extra USB cable that I ended up cutting to run the power. And it was a power strip that's actually running now, everything. So let me see if I get back here. So what I did for the IEC connector, I'm trying to pull this up without cracking the screen because that would be bad. But what I did with the IEC connector is I just ran a power strip, cut it, and then just connected it all up. And everything else was just like stuff laying around. So the HDMI, the actual TV also, it was just a TV that we had replaced because this was actually in the kitchen and it was a 27. And we put a 32 in there. So this one came down and it's just been laying around. So that's the reason why it's in this project. But not a lot of stuff that was purchased for this build. Paint, that was about it. I did purchase the paint. And I purchased a hole saw so that way I could cut these buttons out. And I think in the future what I need to do is just do a little bit better job of cutting some of this other stuff out. But that IEC connector, definitely I need to do a better job of cutting that out. It's not bad and it's in the back, so it doesn't matter as much. But these guys look pretty good. These guys look pretty clean. So, and those are the ones that you're going to see, right? But what do you guys think? Oh yeah, and to keep the controller kind of from moving, I stapled Velcro to the cab, and then it's just wrapped. And then just to give it a little bit more stability, let me go ahead and turn this down again. I went ahead and I hammered in a nail here, so that way it's really stuck. Because really the tension is going to be coming this way because of the way the shooter is. So in order to keep that tension, you know, I just did the nail and then the Velcro just to kind of give it a little bit of stability. But yep, that's about it. So I'm going to get this all put together, and then maybe we can do a little bit of playing Ghostbusters and whatnot, and just, I don't know, just see how it goes and see how it feels. All right, let me get this put back together. Okay, so it is a rainy day, and this pinball, what do you call it, machine is pretty much almost done as far as like what can be done on the Switch. And of course there is a Nintendo Switch running this, and it does have the flipper buttons for the trigger buttons that are on the Switch. And then it has the plus and minus buttons here, and then it has the plunger, the A button, the back button. And I'll tell you why it has a plunger and it has the actual plunger button and the actual plunger that you pull back. And same thing on this side. So I just kind of wanted to play a few games. So I'm just going to get this mounted up. I figured I'd just play a few of my favorite games. But what I was really wanting to get this for was to play Jurassic Park. But I actually started getting all these other pins. Sorry. So you still have to navigate using the Joy-Cons because I don't have a joystick hooked up. But it allows you to navigate the tables and stuff with the Joy-Cons. And the other cool thing is, I don't have it hooked up right now on mine, but you can actually play some of these pins online. And you can play against people. But I wanted to play a couple of my favorite pins that I have found. And actually, that was the whole idea behind this, is that I would be able to play pins that I haven't ever played before, that I just didn't know about. And you can see by let me adjust this again. So I can kind of now control it with these buttons here. So you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and just hit A, and that'll go ahead and start the game. And it gives you kind of some information on the mode, and then it'll actually give you some information about the pinball machine. So this is Championship Hub. I have never heard of this, and to be honest, I'm not a huge pin guy, so you know, I don't really know much about these pins. But the cool thing about this one, so this one, you do need to hold that button down as opposed to a plunger. And the reason why is because up here, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I think you can kind of see it. But up here in the DMD, is it has different things that you can get when you let go of it. So it's kind of like a mini game. So I'm gonna try to go for the million, which I got, and then you can just kind of go through and just play the game, which is pretty cool. I mean, it plays. So this one's pretty cool. It's like a jump rope, and what you have to do is you have to do the flippers, and in the real game there's a little solenoid that pops the ball, and then it just hits the wire, and then that's kind of how you do the jump rope. And then it does a boxing one up here, is pretty cool, and then it also has like a spittoon thing that you kind of control with the flippers. It's like a DMD game, so it's pretty cool. And in this game, you actually have to fight the guy. And I have that back button, and you can see he's looking around, and he's like a digital character. But if I hit that back button, it takes away the whole effect, and you can see it's now acting like the regular pinball machine. But if I press that back button again, it puts kind of the newer, modern, you know, 3D graphics or whatever.
Climb the stairs, kid.
So now it's saying climb the stairs. Almost. And so this kind of reminds me of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, but like, see how it has the energy? So you're basically building up energy, and then when you get to a point like this, where you do the fight, you're gonna see the energy here, and you actually fight the guy. So look, I'm gonna turn off the effect, and you see how it's just the guy. So this is the way it would look on the normal pinball machine, right? Which is kind of cool. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the special effects back on, and then you can see like he's actually like punching and whatnot, which is kind of cool.
Would you like another?
It's pretty neat. And then you can kind of see the energy there. So actually I'm losing, and I lost because I went in this knockout area. So that's one ball. And if you come up into this ramp here, it'll actually do a lock ball. So we're gonna go ahead and launch again. And remember, there's DMD where you can kind of get what you want. And the way it does, oh, here we go. We're gonna do jump rope. Oh, I messed up that time. So what I was gonna say is a lot of times on pinball machines, not on all machines. Oh, so that's a lock ball. So if you get 3 of those, it'll do multi-ball. But this particular pinball machine, it'll have like a little thing that pops up down here by the flippers, and that is, it kind of gives you another chance. A lot of pinball machines would actually give you another ball when you drain the ball really early on. So that's how this game handles that. It kind of just gives you like almost like kind of training wheels. Ooh, that one went right down the middle. So now we're kind of on our last ball. I wish I could have showed you the little speed bag over here and then the spittoon thing. Maybe that's what we'll try to do on this one. So let's try to do that little mini game at the top. We got a million. So now we got a Fisticuffs multi-ball. So this will be a chance for us to kind of increase our score a little bit. So I think we got another lock ball, which is cool. Well, we should have had a lock ball. I wonder if it doesn't do a lock ball during a multi.
It's gonna be sort of good thing I bet on you. Climb the stairs.
But yeah, I know this is not like a real pinball machine, but you know what? For you pay like, I think it's like $10 on the Switch, and you end up getting like 3 different tables or whatever. It's a good way to try a whole bunch of different tables and relatively low cost, because I mean these machines are anywhere from 3 to 6,000. So that ball that came down, that was a locked ball that we had. And a lot of times on the pinball machines, you know, some people don't know this, but on the pinball machines, it'll go through and it'll have a number up here, and what it's doing is it's trying to match the last 2 numbers of your score. So actually that wasn't good. Let's play it one more time though. It'll try to match the last 2 numbers of your score, and if it does match, then you actually get a free game. So let's play this one without the effect on, so you can kind of see how it went away. You can kind of see the stuff there, that guy, this stuff here. So we'll play without it, so you can kind of see just how the game plays, you know, pretty much like on the arcade, or the pinball machine, I should say, the real pinball machine. Let's see if we can get those, that speed bag over there. Try that. I want to try to get the speed bag and maybe the spittoon thing. So there we go. So now you can kind of see, and you know what, we're going to put the effect on so you can see it a little bit better. But there's the speed bag. So we got 22 hits there. And now we just have to do the spittoon thing. And then we'll kind of have seen pretty much all the modes. So went back to the beginning. So now we're going to go ahead and fight him again.
Hello,
Oh, let's turn that off.
You're gonna try your luck with me.
Alright, so let's go ahead and fight this guy. The way you fight him is you got to hit the center, and then you have to hit those ramps to hit his face.
Watch his face.
Just like that. So we're doing pretty good this time.
You didn't see that coming, did ya?
In the sense that
That's the fighting spirit.
so we lost our little thing that helps us out in the middle. So we got to make sure we don't drain the ball.
That's a knuckle sandwich.
So we only need like maybe 3 more hits.
Tight. I needed that.
Ugh.
Trying harder if you want to beat me.
So we missed that. It's okay. So I've been able to get all the way up to beating him 3 times. I'm not doing too good, but I think I have a hard time playing. I think when talking. Oh, that one is bad. All right, so let's see if we can actually get the spittoon thing. I think that would be kind of cool. All right, so we're doing the jump rope again. And it's a little further away because it's supposed to emulate like the real pinball table, so we're not supposed to be kind of going over there. I can't remember how we get the. How do we get the spittoon thing? It's a pretty cool like little mini game. I'm trying to remember how we get it. I'm actually gonna hit the special effect thing, so. Oh, there we go. Helps me kind of see it a little bit. But it's nice having those buttons on the machine to turn the effect on and off, so that way if I want to play more like the arcade style, I can play like the arcade style, but if I want to turn that effect on so I can kind of see that stuff a little easier, I can do that too. So kind of gives a little bit of both, best of both worlds. Alright, let's see. Been able to knock that out fairly well as far as like getting it at 1,000,000. Where is the spittoon thing? I'm trying to see.
Ladies and gents, Knuckles O'Brien, voices the kid.
But yeah, what do you guys think? I mean, this is pretty cool, right? This is a Nintendo Switch. And we're using it as a pinball machine, right? It's kind of cool. At least I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty freaking cool.
Aye, thanks. I had an itch. Ooh, definitely felt that one. Ooh, yeah, you're winning.
So actually we're doing fairly well as long as we don't. Ooh. Oh no! Oh, there we go. I was like, man, the pinball got stuck. So we won. That was kind of cool. So in the real pinball, I mean, you would actually. Hey, did we get the? Here we go, spinning gallery. So look, you use the flippers, and what you have to do is these guys are spinning, and you have a little spittoon, and you have to like basically catch it. So that's what we're gonna do here. So we got 2, and we got to get 10, and we can only miss 3, so we missed 3. So that's like the last like part of this game, I think. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's pretty much kind of a rinse and repeat. I mean, there's other stuff you can get. There's a fisticuffs multi-ball, which we got. There's the lock. So here's a fisticuffs again. And you can also get the lock ball, which you get 3 of those, and then you get a multi-ball with that too.
Good thing I bet on you.
So this game is super cool. I like it. I like the whole like kind of like bar. It's almost like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out game. It's pretty cool. So I think that's it, and then it's going to do its score where it's trying to match the thing at the over here. All right, so we got high score. It's not connected to the internet right now, so I don't know if it's actually going to keep track of this. But you just use the flippers to choose your score, and then you just hit the plunger button to like lock it in. But it's super cool. I think it's a really neat way to play. So let's play. Let's see if we can play one more.
Single player results.
Whoops.
Game pause.
So we're just gonna go back. We're gonna exit to single player.
My collection.
Was there any other ones I wanted? So Theater Magic's pretty neat. I love Monster Bash. That's super cool. Whitewater's fun. Medieval Madness, and then they also have these other ones. So they have some Jurassic Park ones. They have these Universal Studio package. So it's Back to the Future, Jaws, E.T. But I actually have. Let's see. I have the Star Wars one, and then I have a couple other ones. So I have like a Stern one and whatnot. So let's just double check and let's see if this launches. Okay, so mild technical hiccup. I'm still trying to figure out. Like, I don't understand why, but I cannot ever get I can't get the 2 switches to play at the same time. I don't know what's going on as far as the digital downloads. So I need to figure that out. So these are the Stern tables, and the one that just came out a few years back was this one. And I really, really, really like Ghostbusters and the theme and all that. So this was actually the real reason why I started doing this project. And now this one is the game that actually uses the plunger. So the Stern does not, doesn't use the button to launch the ball. I think I don't know, it might do both. I guess we can try it and see. But I know I had to get the plunger hooked up to go ahead and launch the ball. So let's just try it. But the game is super cool. I love it. Alright, so let's see. We're going to go ahead and start. And see, like, this one doesn't have a launch button.
Welcome to the Ghostbusters, kid.
So like on my Jurassic Park, it has a button here that you can hit and it'll launch it. And see, like, this one's not launching. So this one you actually have to use the plunger. So let's use the plunger. And let's just play a little bit. So I love the music, the theme, the everything. It's just super cool. So yeah, I died so quickly that it was like, hey, you need another life. So let's hit the Slimer. Ooh, man, died again. That's not good. This game is like so cool. I mean, listen to that music. It's great. And so you can use your flippers to adjust your skill shot if you want. So you can see it's very analog in the sense that depending on how Archie bullet. Oh, we almost made it. Dang. Good thing we had that shoot again, so that way the ball was saved. So we're doing the Tobin Spirit Guide. What do you guys think of this thing, right? I know, again, it's not pinball, but... And it's not even a virtual pinball like what you see with the computers. And actually, that's maybe the, what do you call it, the 2.0 version, and that's kind of where we go after this. But, man, to begin with, this is like, I don't know, it's pretty cool for it just being a Nintendo Switch that's powering this. At least I think so. They had that Sharpen on Kickstarter, and that whole project, I think for that thing it was like $750, and that's essentially what we replicated here. And I did it for way less than $750. Because I had a lot of parts and stuff just kind of laying around, like the TV and stuff. And actually, that's one thing I would probably change on this. Is I would probably put an IPS panel, because I'll show you in a bit, but if you look at it from off angle direction, so like way off to the left, then the screen kind of washes out. So in order to get rid of that, I need a wide viewing angle like on an IPS screen. So I think that's going to be like the next move on the 2.0 version, and it'll be a bigger screen. Right now it's a 27, and I think I want to do a 32. A lot of the arcade 1-ups and stuff are doing pinball, but the playfields are like 24-inch screens, so they're actually smaller than this. And I want to go just a little bit bigger. And then I think eventually the final version that I'll actually end up working on will be a full-size pinball style machine. So we're talking about anywhere from a 43 to a 49-inch screen. Dang, man, I cannot make it up that ramp. So it has like little magnets in here on the game. I've played the real one a few times, but I guess not paying that close of attention to it. But it has like magnets that like grab onto the balls and make them spin, and it like really throws them off when you're trying to play. Alright, so that was pretty quick. Let's play one more time. So it says bad, final score. That wasn't a very good score. So we're gonna go ahead and hit it one more time.
Some overtime?
So we can play one more time again. But yeah, even having that plunger effect with this machine, oh, you saw the magnet there. You can kind of see the magnets there. They're kind of working it. They're making the ball move a little funny. See there, wait again. So this just does it enough to throw you off. Ooh. Good thing we got the ball saved. But yeah, that plunger adds a ton of realism to like you're actually playing on a real pinball machine. And we actually measured my Stern Jurassic Park to kind of get the flippers in the right place. Because to be honest with you, I initially cut the flippers and they weren't in a place that was really comfortable. Like we were leaning way over the screen, and right now that's where the plus and the minus are for the switch buttons. And that was actually where I initially had the flipper buttons. And it was just, it felt weird, So what we ended up doing is we ended up measuring how far they were on a real like Jurassic Park, because that's the that's the pin that would be very similar to this pin. And we ended up getting the measurements right, and actually now it feels right now. So it doesn't have such a weird feeling. Man, and I seriously think, man, those magnets kill me. Man, we can't get up that ramp. Usually I can get up that ramp, but I'm not getting up the ramp this time around. Yeah, it's getting a lot of points up there. You gotta listen to the sound. Ooh, man, that magnet almost got me that time. Yeah, so you have to listen to the sound there to know when that ball's coming out. I mean, I don't really know how you would be able to do that without the sound. I guess timing. Can't get that ramp. So the ramp I'm trying to get is right here. That's what I'm trying to shoot for. Yeah, that's way off. So this is it allows you to practice, you know. I mean, that's the idea behind this. The idea is that you understand the rule sets, because these pinball machines actually have very deep rule sets as far as how to play them. So it kind of tells you like what you need to try to shoot for and whatnot. And that's kind of what this virtual pin is for. So that way when you actually play on the real machine, you know, you got it, right? I think I said this before, but it's like you would play, you know, Street Fighter on your Super Nintendo, so that way when you would go to the arcade, you would know how to play, right? But it wasn't, you know, Street Fighter for the Super Nintendo wasn't exactly like the arcade. Ooh, is that our last one? That is our last one. I think that's it. I don't know, so what do you guys think? So yeah, that's the virtual pinball machine. Let me see. I was gonna show you the buttons. So these are the buttons I was talking about. So initially, when I cut the holes, they were where these white buttons were, and it just felt like when you're standing, it's like you're way up on the machine, and it was just too far up. And so I had to recut the buttons at the right place, like a real pinball machine. And that's where these red ones are, and that's where the flippers are. And then this is a screen thing I'm talking about. So you see it, and then as you transition this way, you see how the colors and everything are changing? So that's because of that whole IPS issue. And if you're playing it, you see it like this, and it looks fine. And like this, it turns a little bit brighter, but this is how you see it head on. And everything looks great when you see it like this. But now look, watch. See how all the colors shifted and it looks weird? So that's that viewing angle that we're gonna have to address. But you see, when you look at it head on when you're playing, it looks great. And then like this, it looks fine. It looks, to be honest with you, it's a little on the lighter side over here, but the camera's able to, I kind of changed the exposure a little bit, and here it looks actually perfect. But here it looks like trash. But yeah, so that is the Nintendo Switch pinball machine that I've been working on, and I think we're gonna call this one a pretty much done project for now. And I do have a plexiglass that I need to cut, and I need to actually put here and put it on top of the screen, so that way nothing hits the screen. But yeah, and I would like to get a regular speaker, dedicated speaker for in here, because right now I'm using a Bluetooth speaker. It sounds freaking great, but I need to get something that's dedicated to this machine, so I don't have to pull stuff in and out. But that's it. And I think I might actually, since I made this whole back box part, I might put a LED strip in there, and then probably put some kind of static back glass for this Switch, which I think would be kind of cool. Maybe put like a Bomb Diggity arcade graphic or something back there. But yeah, that's it. That's the Nintendo Switch pinball. And this is my, I guess, my personal controller for Nintendo Switch. Alright, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you guys later. It's a rainy day, so what we're going to be doing today is I got to do a little bit of cleaning up, and then my niece is actually going to be playing online. She's going to be playing Fortnite in a tournament. It's going to be her first time ever playing. So I got to go get set up for that, and we'll probably just be playing some games and doing some game stuff. And then I actually have a Cruising the World that I need to get a dedicated monitor in. So yeah, like and subscribe, and we will see you guys later. See you later.